Well, good morning, everybody. This is the news we are waking up to for Thursday, February the 6th, 2025, day 1079 of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and day 17 of the subversion of the U.S. government by Moscow. Because, in my opinion, that's exactly what's going on. Exactly. Now, last night, here in Ukraine, we saw the Russian Federation send 77 drones of the Shahed variety. 18 of them were decoys and were taken out with active countermeasures. 56 were shot down. That's a 96% interception rate. The 3 that got through caused damage in Kharkiv, Cherkasy, and Dnipropetrovsk. However, the real damage was done by 2 Iskander missiles that got through. Those Iskanders, boy, they move awful fast. They are awful hard to shoot down. You have very little response time. And in an area where there is no Patriot defense, they will do a job. And that was Kharkiv. Here, I have a little bit of video here. I can play this. This is a post-attack damage assessment from around midnight, about 1 o'clock last night. The attack happened about midnight. This was filmed shortly thereafter. You can see where we are. We're in a retail gallery. Shops were now. Thank God this attack happened at night. At this time, I have no word of reported casualties. That's not to say that there won't be some. But had this happened during the day, when this mall was crowded, you can just imagine the devastation. It would have been a repeat of what we saw with that. I forget the name of the business, but they're like a Lumber 86 or a Lowe's for Ukraine that was hit in the middle of the day about a year ago or so. That killed so many people. So this is where one of the Iskanders came down last night. We don't have any video on the other attack, but again, the damage was in Kharkiv, Cherkasy, and Dnipropetrovsk. Word from Sébastien Lecornu, the Minister of Defense for France, that they have delivered the first round of Mirages to Ukraine. Now, these fast fighter jets, the pilots and the ground crews and mechanics were all trained in France during 2024. They completed their training just before Christmas of 2024. And they returned to Ukraine. And they have been in Ukraine about 6 weeks now, awaiting the arrival of the jets. So the Mirage have now joined the fight. We don't know how many are here. The French promised 12. We know that not all 12 were intended to be delivered in the first quarter of this year. So French defense minister did use the plural. So there's at least 2. We can say with confidence, I think, that at least 2 of the 12 have arrived. Probably more likely it's 4, but we just don't know. That's an operational security issue, clearly. But we can expect to see these guys in the skies over Ukraine. Hats off to the Danes, boy. Denmark is really stepping up. Now, in the Baltic Sea, the Russians have been waging their hybrid warfare, cutting undersea communications and energy transmission lines, right? This is the Eagle S, which we believe is responsible for cutting the Estonia Link 2 lines. We've seen NATO and JEF forces in the area step up patrols so that should anything happen, there are ships nearby to respond to Russian passive aggression, which is the only thing I can call this kind of bullshit. I mean, you think about it, right? This is so mafioso. Hey, you got a nice place here. Be ashamed if it burnt down. It's such bullshit of really the lowest kind. The Joint Expeditionary Force, which is UK plus the Netherlands and a couple of Scandinavian countries, they're out patrolling the Baltic Sea. NATO has instituted Baltic Sentry. They're out patrolling the Baltic Sea. The Danes now are going to start inspecting and interdicting suspected Shadow Fleet tankers. So they are stepping up patrols for interdictions of Russia's Shadow Fleet in the Baltic. This is clearly in response to Russia's hybrid warfare. The Danish Maritime Authority, which, please, Lars and all the, or I'm sorry, not Lars, but all the Danes out there, please forgive me. The Sofartistyrelsen, which is the Danish Maritime Authority, they released a statement that said, "We are stepping up our efforts to ensure that oil tankers comply with security rules at sea, environmental protection, and protection of sailors." Now, by all accounts, these Shadow Fleet tankers don't do any of that. They never have the right inspections. They're always falling apart pieces of junk, like the 3 that we saw break up in that storm in the Black Sea a month or 2 ago. I don't know if you can hear it. I don't know that the mic is sensitive enough to pick this up. But you may hear a kind of somber, melodious dirge in the background. And you might even be able to make out that the language that they're singing in is Ukrainian. And what that is a daily event here. It's a funeral for a fallen soldier. And they're just, and when I say that this happens every day, that's not an exaggeration. Every day that funeral dirge plays as the cars go by in procession to the cemetery. Okay. So hats off to the Danes, huh? This is what we have to do. You got to respond to this. Otherwise, they are going to walk all over us. Now, this is an emerging story. The details are sparse on it at this time, but I expect to be able to give a thorough report on this tomorrow, Friday the 7th, either in the morning or in tomorrow's live. Tonight's live, of course, will be the kind of special single subject of the parallels in the economic and geopolitical realities at the time of the fall of the Soviet Union and what's happening in Russia today. And we'll try to draw some parallels there and maybe look for the kind of events we would expect to see happen next based on our history. Right? Now, this story, this emerging story that we have very few details on at this time, it appears as though Russian FSB agents had somehow compromised or seduced and enlisted the help of Ukrainians across the country and somehow got them to perform suicide bombings of Ukrainian enlistment centers. Now, look, you can see, right, paying somebody to throw a Molotov cocktail in the window. That's entirely understandable. But to give themselves up? And so there are suspicions that these people didn't know that they would be a victim of the actions they were taking. So we don't know yet. The details are very sparse. This is an emerging, breaking story that I just got wind of right before I went to record. And so I slapped it in here. But we'll have more on this in the next 24 hours. Okay, and that's it for me. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you in tonight's live, where we'll talk about some of the historical parallels with the geopolitical realities and economic realities of today. And I'll talk to you tonight. Thanks so much.